Welcome. It's a nice day. Might rain. Haven't had enough rain, have we? Just not enough. All right, welcome to the June all-campus meeting where we do just the one. The room's crowded. We like the tables and chairs just to kind of talk. I'll get us started with a few, if I miss somebody here, you got to help me out. So let's do at least a couple of shout outs. We didn't have a May meeting, so I really want to shout out to Carrie, Laurie, and the team that put on a very nice commencement. Yes, yes, yes. Kudos to Robin and every arm she twisted to help make the Distinguished Alumni Lunch and Green Carpet a very nice event. And most recently, our granting team. They've been working on this for a long time, but we have 2 NSF grants that total just shy of $1 million, but I like to round up. So we have $1 million worth of NSF grants. In terms of people, I know Ashley, right? Ashley is our new custodial supervisor, correct? Let's welcome Ashley. And Amy Jo, you are here. Where's Amy Jo? Thank you. I thought that was you. Welcome. You're IT. You're a systems analyst.
Yes.
Wow. I have no idea what that is.
Thanks for the
I have an
welcome.
iPhone and I can take pictures. That's all I can do. But welcome, Amy Jo. I will call for announcements at the end. I actually have some personal news I would share at the end because I'd like to leave on a happy note. But just from things that are coming up, if you saw June 27th, we're doing a webinar on how to deal with difficult customers because we have them. They show up. They bleed on us. So we thought if we were doing something on customer service, which we did earlier in the year, and I really appreciate doing that, it would be good to have some tools in the toolbox. This is right next to police training on how to talk somebody off a ledge. It's right up there. How to get a customer to calm down in front of us at NSCC. So, because occasionally our customers have unrealistic expectations about who we are and what we do, and we have to help them through that process. So, just want to mention that was June 27th. All right, I would start with my thanks. I really appreciate. We did a listening session in the fall. We got a lot of good comments back. Those went into many things that we did during the year. I can remember things like feedback on the summer hours, right? Half the people in here thought our summer hours were great. The other half said, I would love to see my child play a baseball game, and I can't because you did this. And so we changed how we did summer hours, and we changed some of our dress code stuff. And so I think your feedback is very much appreciated. The way to frame what we're about to do is Cabinet meets Monday, and we're building the college goals for next year and looking at what we're going to do. We have a board retreat a month later where we kind of solidify things. At the same time, we are nearing the end of our strategic plan, and we'll do another strategic planning kind of deal, about a 3-year plan. We'll put it in front of the board April of 2020. So things you tell us now are all part of the grist of what do we need to do. And the way I would frame it is to say this is a listening and learn session. Megan is taking notes, and so this will probably be played through multiple stakeholder ears. Does it resonate? Does it not resonate? I know I am out in the community. I'll go from here to one in Wauseon today and kind of come back. I'm going to, I think, Columbus. That's like my natural path now. But I'm doing a Dayton graduation with electricians in another week or so. So I get feedback from those types of groups, chambers and other stuff, and I feed that into the team regularly. So we thought it would be really good at least once or twice a year to just pause and go ahead and just hear from everybody, especially when we have a one-time session. It could be, the way I would phrase it, and I think, the way I would phrase it, things like, what are we doing well? What we don't do well usually comes to mind really quickly. So what we're doing well is always well and appreciated. What do we need to do better? I think we're doing very well, but what do we need to do better? And any other kind of thoughts or ideas you have as we go forward with a strategic plan? What should we be focusing on? What do you think is important? Is there a process that absolutely needs work? And I can think of a few we worked on this year that worked out a little bit better. So that's typically the type of it. So the way to do this, I've asked Katie to be a moderator because typically I get to answer a lot, and it's not good to be moderator and answerer. It just doesn't kind of work out, I think. So I'd ask Katie to come up. She got that email this morning. You're the moderator, aren't you? And so I will give it to you. And so if you say, comment, whatever it is, it might be somebody else in the room helping out with an answer, but I might phone a friend. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Go ahead.
Okay, so to start out, you have index cards on your tables with pencils. So you can write down a question. So if you, and we can feed those forward, or you can hold it up and wave it. Or you can just say, I have a question, raise your hand or stand up or whatever, and ask it directly. So does somebody have a question right off the bat that they would like to ask, or a comment that they would like to make? So one of the things that Dr. Thompson said, processes. We want to work on processes. So one of the ones that was kind of a thorn in my side that I talked about at one of the all-campus meetings was that monthly phone log that we had to do. That I had to turn in a piece of paper every month that said I did that 4 cents. It really was company business. It wasn't personal, and we made that go away. To me, that was an improved process. So I have a feeling there's at least one more process that we do that's probably a thorn in somebody's side. And so those are the types of things we'd like to hear about. What processes do we do that need to be improved on or need to go away, or what's a thorn in your side that we could improve on next year? Things like that. So anybody have anything written down yet, or ideas that they want to bring forward? Questions that they have? I know you guys think we're doing a great job, but I know we're not perfect. Thank you.
I still have difficulty navigating Banner because there's so many alphabet soup kinds of things, and I'm keeping a list, and I have a list that Patty gave me when I came, and then I learned a new piece last week when I met with Lynn Spicer, but I think it'd be helpful, at least for me, if I had a list of what things did.
Okay, so you probably don't want to take this question.
Yeah.
So
My answer wouldn't be like as valued of someone who actually knows Banner better than I do.
So am I allowed to call on people in the
Sure,
group?
well, you may phone a friend.
Phone a friend, so.
And we all know who that friend is.
So Terry, could we, as a takeaway, say in the next year, could we maybe think about a goal of providing Banner training as an ongoing? I know you do training with people, like when they come in the door, requisition training, things like that. But then we maybe need to have some, I'm sorry?
Or even a written resource, like a handbook or whatever.
Yeah, I like those too. I like to be able to flip back because I forget things. So
Sure.
what's your response?
We currently have the navigation, which is kind of general, how to get around each of the pages. And then we also have the requisition and purchase order training. Those are both electronic or printed material. If anybody needs those, let me know. But certainly we can develop others that would be pertinent to the different departments. Some things are general that would be used by many departments, others are just unique. For example, the things that Ian does and admissions would be unique to any other department, but we can certainly work on that. So I welcome ideas of if you have specific areas that you want addressed.
I don't
Otherwise-
know what I don't know.
Exactly. Well, there are about 3,400 pages of
I don't need
our
that
different
many.
programs.
The share drive somewhere, just say, look under this folder, look for this file name, and
Yeah.
I'll use it for my bedtime reading.
Sounds good.
So I think one of the ways to approach it, yes, and I appreciate you asking. So I think, Megan's taking notes, let's poll the President's Leadership Group and ask what are the most common Banner things that you do, right? Because I think that's really, it's like, and this is where we are. Somebody like Terry, who like, he forgets more about Banner than I will ever remember, right? Let's just start from that point. So when I approach Banner, it's like, oh my gosh, I did this like 3 months ago, I have no idea how to do it again.
Exactly.
Exactly. So what are the 8 or 10 tasks that you don't do every day, that you kind of like, where did I, how did I, what did I? And then we can devote an entire president's leadership kind of training session. We'll do it in a lab, and then Terry will just give you a list and say, just hit these. And if there's a, from that, it's probably a one-pager that you know, with a picture or two that says, here's how to do those. And that gives you the, I always go for the 80-20. What are you doing just to get to it a little bit quicker? That would be a way. And from being in your position as a dean at one time, I can think of 8 or 10 things that
Well, there's some I know them by heart, but others it's kind of like, I know I did this before, but what did I do?
So the hit list should be things that are in Banner that you touch a couple times a term, but you don't do with enough frequency that it's in your short-term memory. That would be a way to approach it. So it isn't we don't know, it's that we don't use it enough to burn it in. That'd be a good one to refresh.
One important thing to remind people about Banner is that when you get ready to use it, you pray a lot. So if you're not a lady person, right before you get ready to register a person for class, you go, please God, don't let it say run query mode only.
Yeah.
People who have done that understand that, and you go, that's all. So
how I get
if you're not an urgent person, you will be in the morning.
I think the thing that, when you asked the question, I thought of too, is the training that Melissa did on the leave reporting. That's very helpful to me, that you walked us through the process, and I walked away with, I don't know, 6, 7 pieces of paper that, because if I don't do it all the time, I forget how to do it. I can flip back and find that. So those types of processes are really helpful to me.
Yes.
You did a very good job. Even a president learned how to do it. Just say it, that's a high bar.
So I do have a question on a card.
Sure.
I'll read this, and I might need to interpret a little bit. Internal communications between departments and making sure all of the right people are at the table for discussions.
Okay. It's general, and I'm like a specific guy, but I hear it. If I can have a topic around it, it's always helpful. So are we talking about coordinating college events or making decisions about X, Y, or Z? I think it helps.
Non-CCP people making decisions about CCP.
Okay. CCP, that's a good one. I do think when the cabinet works on goals, what I think will come out of it for goals for next year will be a couple of work teams of people that are in certain processes so that we can stay connected on those processes. I think we typically, and you know, one for me is events. I think whoever owns an event has to like master all things event every time you do event. And I think it will behoove us to have an event group that figures those things out. I think College Credit Plus, I think there's going to be an enrollment management team that will meet regularly, that will work through issues, including College Credit Plus. So I think that's exactly, I think as I look at the 2 or 3 things, you know, the board's asking us to do and where we need to go, I would fundamentally agree having internal people at a table that are regular customers and occasionally bringing a person in who's getting something done.
It's just hard when you have CCPs of each of its own, and
Right.
it's always evolving and changing. So if you have people who don't understand the processes, it's hard for them to make decisions.
I would agree. And, you know, we, for the first term, and Cindy's not in the room, but when she reported to the board yesterday, you know, spring was one of the first terms in a while, and like, as in, I don't know when before, that our enrollment actually met our goal. And that's a very good thing. A lot of that rests on CCP, who is, again, a very high percentage, growing percentage of the summer. So for the, we say CCP, we just talk, you know, we just go over and talk to Nicole a little bit. It's like CCP is becoming a larger and larger group. It is, when you say a beast, there are CCPs, College Credit Plus, that are in the homeschool world, that's like 4 different audiences right there alone that Ann does. I meet those people when I'm out and about. So it's getting good answers to good questions to our particularly family members who are navigating those processes. Because I can tell you, school systems are not very good about giving answers about College Credit Plus. And some of that is very deliberate to discourage College Credit Plus. Very clearly. That's a good one.
I have another card. This is long-term, map student life cycle so we can learn all touch points, reduce rework, capitalize on communication flow, and discover weak points and strengths.
Wow, that person has an excellent process brain. I love it. So if we, that's an interesting one. I wouldn't throw it in an enrollment management team. I'd have to think on what team would do that. So let's capture it and figure out what that is.
Yeah,
So
I just realized you probably didn't get all that.
No, I think if you look at it, like who is our student? And then I would just, just as an example, we have people that leave high school and come to us fairly close to that within a year. That's one journey. And typically, they might be bachelor bound, they're working full time. There are adults who have maybe finished or not even finished high school that did see us as a way to get to a better job. Very focused, can only come at certain times, and they need us. Those journeys are fundamentally different. The systems that help them and the schedules that serve them are fundamentally different. So we have guided pathways, which is great, but figuring out, I think it's the words I'll use, segmented enrollment streams, mapping the journey. We map the paths, which I thought was great. Maybe we need to map the journey of the typical segmented enrollments and then work backwards. So a fun game to play is you ask, and I'll pick on Renee here, so because this will work out well. So you are a 42-year-old single mom with 2 kids, recently divorced, you're struggling with money, and you've got 12 credits and you want to get a 4-year degree to get a better job. What do I do?
Right.
And you actually play that person and walk around this institution and see what answers you get. And it's kind of like a secret shopper. You walk around and touch all the processes, and then you find out what those answers are. You're a subject matter expert in that area, and then you can bring to the table, here's the weak points in that process, if you serve that. So you understand what I just did? Pick the profile of someone in a segmented group, have one of us pretend to be that person, walk around, figure out what our processes are, and then help improve those processes. And where you see a weak point, then that process improvement group kind of gets that. That'd be a good. So that was an excellent question, and there are ways to do that that are kind of fun, that helps. So that was a very good one.
Questions, comments, suggestions? May have caught you off guard today. So one thing we can do is, you get back to your desk and you think of something you wish you would have asked, or you can send those to Megan and she'll funnel those to the cabinet.
So to help, right? Because what'll happen is at about 10 of, there'll be 20 of them. Right? So, and I really appreciate, right? I'm not trying to force things. I really appreciate. I love silence in the sense that it tells us things seem to be going well. If you envision a very successful Northwest State Community College, maybe 2 or 3 years from now, what would that look like to you? When I say we're the place, babe. We are the spot. When I say those words, what does that mean to you? What would be good indicators that that's a reality?
Full atrium. Full atrium.
Full atrium. Excellent. All right, this will be good. A full atrium. I hear more, I think 8 or 10 times this year, people talk about the atrium doesn't have the bodies that it used to. Some connect it to when we took our great food team and moved it up here, we pulled that away. And so the location hasn't, right, it doesn't quite, so, and if you didn't know, we're building a student lounge, a little game room across from the bookstore. So we're trying to generate some activity there, but, all right, so that's one. That means more people here, more people staying here, more people connecting here. Other signs that we're the happening place.
place to park.
Excellent. That I hear complaints all the time about parking. That would be an excellent problem to have. Because I had to walk all the way from the child care center to building A today. That'd be a good problem to have. And again, more than once, I have heard people say, I remember when that parking lot was full. Right? See, I mean, I heard that a couple of times. Excellent.
I think a great problem to have would be when we run an ad for a job, that Brittany has so many applications she can't get through them.
Because you never have to do.
I think if you talk to employers right now, who when I go into the community, and they do talk to me a lot, you know, their number one thing is having people. They struggle with having people. When we did the opioid seminar, I heard for the first time I ever heard these words. Well, you know, at Northwest, you're really committed here to help people. Oh, yeah, we are. So what are your felony-friendly programs? They're serious. What programs do you have to help people have a felony record? To get high. They're serious, dead serious. Dead serious. I know, it scares you when you hear that, but yeah, that was the first time I heard those words. So I kind of look at employment right now when I talk to my colleagues in the field, and I'm talking presidents, I'm talking employers. I think employment right now is pretty well like an 8-year-old child in a French cafe. If you can reach the wine glass, you can have the wine. So basically, if you can walk in the door, you have a job. That's literally what it is today. And not only do I hear we're looking for someone, they keep saying stuff. I'll pick on Louis. They keep saying stuff. Just show up. Right? I have no training in that field. Just show up. All right? But you know, I had a couple of felonies. Don't worry about it. Just show up. Right? And please come back tomorrow. This is what, you know. Just come. We'll figure everything else out after you're here. That is the marketplace right now that is kind of out there. So when you say that, our job is to compete in that space, and it isn't always about how much money we pay. It's very much about people come to work because of how they feel when they come to work. And we have a great benefits package, and we do have a very nice place with people who really like each other. So I think so I hear what you say. I think all the important that sliding under that is keep that positive culture going. Got to keep that going, because that's a really good retention tool, really good recruitment tool. Other things. Megan, you had a hand up.
I was gonna say more students that are directly out of high school, because that means we're reaching those students about transfer and the great programs we have here in the First Choice institution.
Okay, excellent one. I would say Megan is a good listener. I just heard the very words two board members told me yesterday. So yes, having more traditional college enrollments, both adult and fresh out of high school, in our space, in our programs that lead to certificates and degrees, is a space where we have not done well over time, and that they are pretty clear that we should be devoting large amounts of time to making that happen. That has nothing to do with the advising center or the counseling group. This has to do with the approach. Where are they? How do we get to them? Words that I hear that are connected to that are, what social media engagement are we using to make that happen? And if the answer is Facebook, we just lost the entire 18 to 24-year-old, because no 18 to 24-year-old ever posts anything on Facebook because their mom is on Facebook. They started Snapchat and then go to places I've never heard of. So where's our, right, so that's literally, you know, from board members that are professionals, they say something, what's your strategy for that? So that's something that's on our plate is, ooh, what are we doing there? So it isn't on the team. Team's doing great. It's a matter of what are the right engagement tools to reach that younger audience today that really gets them to come.
With that, I think we also need to look at the culture again and revamp what these students are hearing, because we're their second choice right now, because they want to go to the 4-year college because that's what's ingrained in their brain. So we kind of need to refocus them a little bit.
Okay, so Megan is capturing that. And so, Nicole, great, I mean, I really appreciate it. Feedback's absolutely, and I will say this out loud, and I'm not joking, feedback is a gift, okay? It really is a gift. You open the present, And sometimes you may not like what you hear or see, I'm not saying yours isn't, but it's a gift. So let's unwrap that. Who is influencing that person to be choice two?
Parents, we even have some guidance counselors that really push it, and friends.
So guidance counselors, so make our list, guidance counselors, parents, and friends. So we just talked about more of a social media strategy and getting us connected with friends. I would say, just in terms of so you hear things, I called a group of people together right at the end of the term, particularly when I discovered there were 13 Presidents and Honor Scholars that did not graduate, that are not on a scholarship for next year. And I said, huh? I actually had other words that I couldn't repeat in this room. And so that group is fast on changing that situation, and they have a goal. We have somewhere between 65, 68 has been our Deans and Honor Scholars group. At one time, that number was 150. 150. So we're going to go back to that number, because that gets after the friends part. But I think focusing on Deans and Honor Scholars and getting those students from every high school in our service area to come here. And the board was very appreciative, because board members go to those high school nights, and I heard more than once, we're seeing more traffic there than we have in a long time. So that we got complimented on our work and our presence in the high schools. They're hearing that, so that's good. But we need to capture, again, the social media, Deans and Honor Scholars. The group that we need a strategy for, parents. And do we grab parents and stick them on a bus and take them out to the factory and make them see what it is and say, there's a really good job there, why are you letting your kid go into debt? Whatever that strategy is, we got to figure that out. But that's a place we need to attack. I think counselors, getting them on campus, getting them to see what we have, getting them, I appreciate counselors, because their caseload is often 1,000 to 1 in most high schools, 700 to 1. And so it's a light glove. I don't want to be heavy-handed, but getting them here and talking to them. So those are good examples. But that was good. Laura, you had a hand up, and Shannon had a hand up. So
I think kids want to get away from home. And even if that means, okay, I grew up in Edgerton, okay, so I could have driven here, but I wanted to get away from home. So I moved to Archbold, lived in an apartment, and came here. So it was the college experience without having to still live at home with mom and dad.
okay.
So the problem is, I'm not saying that we need to create NSCC housing. I'm saying.
That's good that you say that. There are 9 people who employ me that would ask me to go to my car and never come back. Not to name any schools nearby that fired a president over something like that.
Yeah.
Just saying. Is that recorded? Oh my God. Okay.
But, we have a lot of influence in this community, and I think we need to influence the people that like to invest in housing and say, hey, I think we could easily fill up some apartments. If you will build them, they will come.
Okay.
So I personally am looking for housing for a son that's going to get married this fall. There is nothing available. And so I really think as a community, lack of housing is an issue.
I first of all, thank you. Totally agree. Again, I run around in different groups. Defiance 2100 is a group that I'm in. This close to getting a huge major steel manufacturer. Craig Riddell used to work there, and one of the reasons they're not here is because Defiance, largest city in our service area, doesn't have enough housing. Right, so it is a problem. If someone said they wanted to live someplace not with mom and dad, right, do we even have a list of where they could live in apartments? And so let's put that on the list of be proactive about saying you can get away from mom and dad. There's ways to do that. That's really clear. I would also say, and I will, I think Cassie will hear this pretty. I need that logo. This is where I need that logo that says the magic 2 words.
Bachelor's bound.
Bachelor's bound, and so ultimately the connection is you want to get away and have the college experience. You don't have to do that for 4 years. You can do that for 2 years. You still get the same degree, get the same job at the end, and you're only going to be $5,000 in debt instead of the average. And here's the number, by the way: 1.46 trillion in college debt. Average college debt today is $28,000. $28,000. So that rings home. Getting away from mom and dad, I hear, having a $28,000 debt and how we can make that go down. So connecting more students to the notion, come here for the transfer module. Take a few extra summer classes here to speed up your degree there, or come here for 2 years, right? That's the push that says you'll still have the college experience. And, you know, we have an apartment in Archibald. Do that. So you really want me to secretly buy an apartment building in Archibald?
Well, there's not a people that have to build it.
Well, I look, you notice my residence is in Defiance because there was one house for sale when I moved here.
Exactly, that's just it.
Yeah, that is an issue, but all good things. Shannon had a hand up.
Oh, just
Sorry.
a suggestion.
I'm trying not to do both.
So I'm hearing, you know, first choice institution, and I work with the nursing population, and that is the population. We are not a second choice for them. We are absolutely the first choice they want to go to. They know people, they have friends, their mothers graduated from here. Tapping into that population of people and finding out why they choose us over UT or Bowling Green or Wright State or anywhere else, I think could be valuable. Again, like, we are not a second choice for our nursing program, not by a stretch of the imagination.
I would totally concur with that. If I interview, and I do interview the CEOs of particularly the community hospitals, they constantly thank me for our nursing program. So, and you know how I love to tell stories. So recently, I'm of a certain age that requires medical instruments to poke and prod me both from the top and the bottom. That's all I'm saying. So I chose to do it all at once. Put me out, do it all at once, tell me what happens. At the lovely ProMedica facility in Defiance, Ohio, a block from my house. I could walk home. Who did I meet when I went in there? 3 women. Graduates of our nursing program, 25 years ago. All knew each other in the program. One got that job, recruited the other 2 to come, and they've been there for years and years and years. And they're in the general surgery unit, and they see patients every day. And they literally came in to take a picture with me in a gown when they found out I was the president of NSCC, and needless to say, that didn't make it to Facebook. So I appreciate the fact that you love the story. I mean, I think you'll probably now try to erase that picture later. Guided pathways. So, that's right. Guided pathways in other areas that position us as the first choice. We talked about high quality. I think that was good. I think we're now, it's like one in each of our major areas. So I'm looking at a bachelor's bound, and that might actually be business at bachelor's bound, depending on how you play that out. What's the one in manufacturing in particular? What's the one in engineering in particular? What's the one in healthcare other than nursing that we need to start to position as this is the first choice? And I think there are ways to do that. It takes a couple years to build up the yes to that, but I think you're absolutely right. We live off the good graces that our nursing program has a very incredible longtime faculty, extremely committed, high quality, and that machine just really cranks. And do we position ourselves so that the public gets that about some of our other great programs? That'd be a good way to say it. That'd be a good thing to invest some time in this year.
I just have from comments of students that come in, they say it's always this quiet here, and they, even if we're having the game room out there, it's like they're afraid to maybe make any noise. It feels like they're walking into like some place that's really not a fun place. So hopefully the game room, or whatever you're calling it, is gonna help a little bit, but the silence, like, I'm an oldie, but years ago, we used to have music playing, like just very, very faint over the intercom system. Do you remember that? And it was an icebreaker. It really is, because we have music playing in our office, and students comment a lot, like, it's good to hear that noise. It's kind of like scary coming in here because it's too quiet. It's like walking into nothing against the library, but walking into a No, but you know what I mean, they want some kind of noise to kind of make them feel a little bit more comfortable.
Our millennial generation struggles if you put them in a position where things are quiet. Because they're so used to be surrounded by, literally bombarded with a variety of noise. So it's not like we have to intentionally make noise, but you're hearing a reflection of a generation that grew up with noise around them. And it gets back to more people in the atrium, right? And when so if we have more people here and the buzz, I think that starts to come out.
Even the TV that's outside the bookstore, if that was, like, I know people can turn it on, but if that was on, that's kind of like a little bit of an icebreaker because it stops people when there's some important news on. And, oh, you know, I didn't know this was going on, but they're sitting there and then they start talking to other people. And then, you know, groups form, but just a thought.
So every other Monday, when my video comes out, stop all work and put it on every speaker. Make sure everybody gets it. That's what I just heard.
It's noise.
Well, just to kind of take on the second level where we have like coffee tables and comfy chairs and whatever, those seem to be hot spots for students hanging out. And I would prefer the tables and chairs that are in the atrium, but what if we had tables and chairs, but we had other type of seating vignettes, and maybe that would entice people to stay there and do things.
And by the way, put word Steelcase Furniture next to that group. So there are people who do studies. That's interesting. They're more in the four-year world, where they do studies of open spaces and students, especially in residential, about creating pockets of spaces that invite students to come in. So it wouldn't be, I mean, somebody like Steelcase would be happy to walk through our space and go, you could do this, you could do this, you could do this. We could put it on the capital list and then buy some and see what works. I think that would be, yeah, I think we do, and I would say this out loud because it touched a point. One of the reasons I came, Jim Hoops took me on a tour of this facility. That was one of the most nicest facilities I was in. I was in 20 searches, guys. I saw a lot of schools. A lot of schools. This is one of the nicest places, one of the best, well-kept facilities that I have ever been in. Okay, hear that? So it isn't about. It's a great place. What can we do intentionally to it's kind of like a social nudge to permit people. Okay, and it gets to the music and the the little bit of commotion. Of course, yeah. If one day faculty who teach in, I forget what my classroom is, a 116, I think it is. So if I come out one morning and say shush because everybody's too loud out there, it's like the parking lot being filled. That's a great problem to have, isn't it? I'd love to have to worry about people being heard over my voice at an 8 o'clock class because people are out there in the hallway making a lot of noise. I'd love to have that problem. I'd love to. So I can talk really loud.
So we're at 5 to 1.
Jared.
Just for like envisioning for the next 3 to 5 years, I think one of the things could be if we're able to have more fully staffed departments and divisions. I remember back in 2009, 2010, where this campus was just flourishing. I was a student at that time. I also was a student worker at the library. We also had the Student Resource Center where there was about 6 departments, one person each department, for educational planning, transfer, career services, accessibility. So Student Resource Center, one person for each department. And that was a wonderful time because that was just a valuable resource to have here on campus. And I think if we could get back to fully staffed divisions and offices around here, I think that would really help our presence and be a first choice institution as well.
So we're writing that one down. I think when I did the conversations last year, I heard that a lot. And I would say, just in the bigger perspective, all community colleges reached a peak 2010, 2011. More students we knew what to do with. Please, if you knew like how to spell the word political science, you could teach American government. Okay, I mean it just literally was find them, teach them, go. And so when we mapped out at our January retreat, enrollment streams segmented down. 3 or 4 of those segments have dropped 40 to 44%. 40 to 44% over the last 5 years. So when you say I want to be fully staffed, I would say absolutely but that's directly connected to stuff we heard earlier, more people in this place. Right? That there's a direct correlation. So what positions that we've like put in during the year, we did put in some, faculty in industrial technology, because they've lost faculty and not put them in. We have a new position, kind of, I call it concierge, but you can beat me up because I word things funny, but Alex is our new person to go between. Let's give a hand to Alex. I really appreciate it. For students who don't fit the profile I talked about and can self-navigate, we lose them. We lose them. And because they struggle to navigate our systems, we are not alone. There's 1,100 community colleges all say the same exact thing. So you have to have someone who can help, that you can put on a problem to help a student with a unique situation and get them through it. So we've invested in some. We gave Michael some advertising money. He's probably, I don't know, putting in a poker tournament, buying drones. I'm not sure. I see a drone out here every now and then. I'm for sure thinking you're at your house monitoring me. Yeah, barbecue, yeah. I'm waiting for the beehives. I know you're a bee guy. I'm just waiting to go out there because I have my EpiPen just in case. I am allergic. So I think you're saying something really important, which is if we work at getting more people in the door in the chicken and egg, there will be positions, because we're doing positions now with the thought that that will produce enrollment. Right? I mean, I call it measured risk. We have to take some measured risk to get to our next space. Everybody here, and I want you to hear this part because I use a lot of words, everybody here just working a little bit harder is not going to produce the volume of bodies I think we could have here. We are going to have to make some measured risks and some measured investments to kind of make that happen.
Jared and then Alex too. I'm finding transferology. The message from getting course accreditation from state schools. I don't know how many people are familiar with transferology. It used to be aka transfer.org at the state level, but this is national. So transferology, so that somebody going to UT could go into transferology, because every school's got it on their website typically, where they can see like, oh, I want to go to this school, these are my classes, and they like within a 100-mile radius of this zip code. And will appear for people. So I think this is getting other people on campus familiarized with how to find the course abilities, what from Bowling Green will transfer here to us. They try to improve or increase the transfer in enrollment as well. I think at the larger schools, people are more familiarized with transferology. So it's just kind of getting people informed, but it's all that academia kind of stuff that gets to be boring and overwhelming for all of us, and as parents too, but that might be a tool that can help with some enrollment, transferring in to increase that enrollment. Just kind of that concierge, that person to help connect dots for students, which is kind of that mapping. How do you connect all the dots? So listening to the student, hear what they're saying, like, oh, well, here's how you resolve that.
I spent, just by the way, an entire day at Bowling Green, I think it was last week, and had lunch with the president, met a couple of deans. They are very anxious to build a long-term relationship with us. They're one of the very few residential four-year regional schools in the country. I think they're like one of 8 that do what they do. And so they see adult learners from Northwest State as their next future students. We got to figure out how to do that with our population. But yeah, when a president sits down at lunch and says, we want to have a stronger relationship with you, I know what that clue means. So I think the other end is very receptive to what we're doing.
I think something that could help, especially with all the changes, like division-wise and people moving to Learn-O-Wise and things like that, is it kind of gets lost in translation when things change, how the workflow goes. So when something changes, the workflow changes. I think something that would be helpful, maybe like the teams you were suggesting could like sit down and make workflow charts on different processes, and then maybe charts or maps and save them like on a place in the U drive so people can refer to if this thing happens, okay, where did this student need to go, where did this person need to go, and where the process goes along with that. So someplace that it can all be easily accessible to everybody to find it that they can refer to.
Excellent point. It dovetails to like the journey thing I heard before, mapping out the student journeys and then connecting them. And I'm a big fan when I hear you say this, like 80-20 stuff. It's not every one, don't be exhaustive. One of the most common ones and of course you said the famous U drive, the black hole of all documents that I try to search and find. But we will put it there. The next is how to make my screen neon light, the very thing I want to see on the U drive. But we'll work on that. So, I love the U drive. I mean, it has virtually everything, but I just don't know how to search for it.
It's like dumpster diving in the black abyss.
Exactly. What is the name of the folder of the person that saved it? And I had no idea that the word transfer actually is in a folder called Splurgert. I have no idea, right? I mean, that's it. It's like, what was that folder about? So I also experienced, because people love to go, yeah, I've got that. It's in the U drive. Well, yeah, okay. My teenage daughter used to say, I got that. I didn't believe her either. All right, pretty close?
Anybody else?
All right. So look, thank you. A couple things. Really appreciate it. I think this will probably stir some juices, right? Somebody like Caitlin, who I know, you're a thinker, right? You're a thinker. I know. Sometimes I just say, but she's a real good thinker. Later on this afternoon, you might go, oh. So I would say, Megan, you're it, MBAT at northweststate.edu. Anything you want to say, get it out of your head in the next 24 to 48 hours, because cabinet retreat is Monday. And that way we can literally cull through all of that and get it connected so that when we put the goals out and talk about how we're going to do things, we'll get to these things. This is how business gets done at school. So, any other announcements? I had two personal things, but I was going to wait till the end. Other announcements? Any other, because I just jumped on some, any other, I was asking about new people to the institution, so welcome. And we have a beer and barbecue every Friday afternoon at 5 o'clock. I know this. I would share that one night, I think you know that I sometimes can have singular focus. And I did not notice that it was 9:10 in the evening when I got up and walked out the door, and I set off every alarm in the place. They're really loud. And I thought for sure, some police was going to roll up behind me on the way out the parking lot. And I will say officially for our public safety people at Tim, my car now actually has Defiance on the license plate. Because I think the policeman that left said, well, there's just a guy with a car from Cleveland there, so he's probably not from us. Turns out I was my car. So now my car says Defiance on the license plate. So I get that. I get that. All right. Any other announcements, people or other things? Two pieces of news. One, very good. I update you on this. I had my health checkup, and so now I'm 5 months past prostate cancer surgery, and my cancer is undetectable still. So. I very much appreciate that. I do what I do because that's part of the journey for me, right? I get up out of bed and do stuff because I have an urgency from being both a survivor and a caregiver. I am at high risk, it turns out. My genetics put me at high risk. So the doctor gave me the Peter De Niro. Every 3 months, you're coming to me. And so I'm on a 3-month watch list, and I until, and they're like, no, there's no until. It's every 3 months. So I feel very blessed. The other one that some people know, and I just want to make sure it's public, that I am engaged. So being Karen, right? I think most of you met her. It's not some other person. And I'm very blessed because that was all part of this journey, was to come to a new space and have a new life. So this is all kind of part of that new journey. So that's also my way of saying thank you very much. It's been incredible moving here. I've been here a little bit over a year, and what we're doing together, and my life is, I am clearly in the right place at the right time doing the things I'm supposed to do with my life. So I'm super excited about that. You of course would understand how a president approaches engagement, which is, great, honey, we get married anytime you want, but I can only honeymoon between December graduation and the first day of class, or the next day after the green card, but not graduation. I can't leave until the green card is over. And maybe a week or two in July. So anywhere's in there we can go. So we're gonna do a little something in December. Is kind of how that works out. So we're mapping spots out right now, kind of to do that. But that is such is my life. So with that, thank you. You do incredible work every day. And some of it I get to see when I walk around, some of it I don't see, some I hear from the other vice presidents. So I just want to hear it from me. You do incredible work here every day. We are doing quite well. We have some things in front of us we need to do, but I have full confidence we will give it a really good shot. And we'll get there. Maybe not as fast as we like or as much as, it's okay. The fact that we're together doing it is the reason I like this place, because we're willing to roll up our sleeves and go after stuff. We just need to pick the right stuff and go get it. I think it'll be a good way to say it. So with that, I would say thank you, Ed. Thank you. Enjoy.